Hey. You're wandering to me the spoiler territory over here. So if you haven't played the 4.1 Archon quest, please come back after you've played it. Ever since we entered Fontaine, there is one particular question we've been asking ourselves over and over. Who is the real Heyyoo Archon? Is it Furina? Is it Fossilors? Is it Neuvillette? Is it Childe? No, definitely not Childe. But this 4.1 Archon quest definitely did give the answer. So without further ado, hey guys, it's Bane here. Welcome back to another video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and watch till the end because this is my 4.1 Archon quest analysis. So first of all, let's start with Act 3 of the 4.1 Archon quest. So moving on to Act 4 of the 4.1 Archon quest. Just kidding. Anyways, let's start with the most predictable and my favorite moment or lore bomb of the 4.1 Archon quest. The reveal of the Hydro Dragon Sovereign, Neuvillette. So finally it has indeed been confirmed that Neuvillette is the Hydro Dragon Sovereign. But that particular fact doesn't surprise us anymore. What surprises is what he said after. Now if you watched my previous video on why the Hydro Traveler mimics Neuvillette's skills, you would know what I'm talking about. In that particular video, I had stated the possibility that the Gnosis actually belonged to the Dragon Sovereigns and it contained the knowledge of the Dragon Sovereigns and that they were taken by Celestia and given to the winners of the Archon War in order to pronounce them as Archons or new rulers of Teyvat. And now if we listen to what Neuvillette says after revealing him as the Dragon Sovereign of Water.
They say that when the first usurper arrived on Teyvat, they seized a part of the dragon's power. Today, that stolen power is the basis of the Archon's authorities.
So it has been confirmed that the Gnosis, which is the basis for the Archon's authority, once belonged to the Dragon Sovereigns. In another video of mine, I had stated the possibility that Neuvillette has not reached his actual powers and that is because he's missing a particular power source which could possibly be the Gnosis. And now according to Neuvillette, none of the living Dragon Sovereigns have achieved their full dragonhood. And they could only achieve that once the Archon disappears, thereby returning the authority back to the dragons themselves. Neuvillette also says that in order to completely resolve the primordial seawater issue, he would have to attain his complete dragonhood. And since the Archon disappearing is not a possibility, he would have to think of other ways to tackle this problem. But now if you read his Ascension 6 voice line.
Now that I have reclaimed one of the 7 authorities from the hands of the usurpers, I have regained my true form. I am now a fully fledged dragon, powerful enough to judge the rest of the gods. My final destiny is to judge the usurper king in the heavens above. But until that time comes, I will lend my power to you.
Hold up. Shouldn't there have been a spoiler warning for this voice line? Because what? Does this mean that Neuvillette is actually going to get the Gnosis and he's going to become a fully fledged dragon? This was not the reveal I hoped for. I was actually hoping he would get the Gnosis and then transform into a huge dragon or something. But revealing this in a voice light, what did he do to get the Gnosis reach level 81? I can't help but say that this is a major spoiler for 4.2 Archon quest. If Neuvillette does get the Gnosis, doesn't mean that the Archon disappears. Doesn't that mean that Furina disappears? And by disappearing, does he mean that the Archon should die? So this leads us to the next part of the Archon quest analysis, which is Furina herself. So in the Act 3 of the 4.1 Archon quest, we can see that the knave has scheduled a meeting with Furina, which she is actually scared to attend and asks Neuvillette to accompany her. Later on the story, we realize that Arlecchino or the knave tried to attack Furina for the Gnosis just to find out that the Gnosis was not in her possession and to realize that Furina did not seem like the Hydro Archon at all. This leads Arlecchino to speculate and even think that Neuvillette could be the actual Hydro Archon because he seems like one. Even during the tea party that occurs at the end of the Archon quest, Furina says that she has always been working on a way to prevent the prophecy from happening but fails to provide any details of the plan and even lacks an emergency backup plan. We also know that even Riosley, the Duke of the Fortress of Meropide, has been secretly building a ship in order to save the people of Fontaine in case the prophecy does come true. So why could it be that Furina does not have a plan to tackle this particular prophecy? In another previous video of mine, I had stated the possibility that the Furina we see is not the actual Hydro Archon but a mascot for the real Hydro Archon, who is the Oratress. And now after playing the 4.1 Archon quest, I'm pretty sure this is the case. It appears to me that there is indeed a plan going on to tackle the prophecy and that it is actually being curated by the real Hydro Archon who is inside the Oratress. The only problem is that the stunt double, who is Furina, has not been updated on these plans. And also, since neither Neuvillette nor Furina has the hydronosis, I think it would be safe to speculate that the hydronosis is within the Oritrus itself. I think the best way to sum it up would be that Furina and Force Lords are actually two different people, Furina being the stun double and Force Lords being the actual Hydro Archon. And judging by Neuvillette's Ascension 6 voice line, which says that he would eventually get the Gnosis, it could only mean one thing, that the Oritrus will cease to exist while Furina will not. It could also be possible that the huge amounts of indemnitium that is being collected within the Oritrus is being used by the Hydro Archon to power up the Gnosis so that she could actually give it to Neuvillette, who is going to save Fontaine. Neuvillette himself said so that after achieving full dragonhood, he might be able to stop the prophecy from happening. So it could indeed be possible that the plan that the Hydro Archon has in order to tackle the prophecy is to sacrifice herself and give Neuvillette the hydronosis so that he could actually stop the prophecy from happening. But apart from the primordial seawater, we have one more problem: Childe's Veil. So it has been finally confirmed that Childe's Veil is coming to Fontaine, and that it was not merely an Easter egg or something to overlook, but the entire basis of the 4.1 Archon quest. So like I said in a previous video of mine, Childe's Veil is coming to Fontaine and bringing along with it the entire Primordial Sea. Once Neuvillette gets the Gnosis and becomes a fully fledged dragon, I think the Primordial Seawater can be dealt with. But who is going to deal with this humongous veil? I mean, did you see how big that veil is compared to Childe? It's huge. It's got 50% of exploration area by itself. Bruh. It is quite possible that the one who's going to have to deal with the veil is going to be the Traveler. So far throughout both the Archon quests, we have not had anything much to do rather than being the supporting character. It made me time to become the main character for once. So to summarize, Furina is not the real Hydro Archon. The real Hydro Archon is in the Oritrus, and the Oritrus is devising a plan to tackle the prophecy looming around Fontaine. And this plan involves in using the vast amounts of indemnitium to power up the hydronosis and pass it on to Neuvillette so that he can become a fully fledged dragon and thus tackle the primordial seawater problem. And about Childe's Veil, who is also coming to Fontaine, who better to tackle a creature from the Abyss than the Abyss twin sibling, the Traveler itself. But there are a lot of questions that I'm afraid I'm unable to answer. From the description of Neuvillette's best in slot weapon, we can see that it says that when the Harbinger of Apocalypse arrives, the seas or the waters of Fontaine will get flooded. We have no clue why this prophecy revolves around Childe so much when he's not even from Fontaine. Also, why the Veil decides to visit Fontaine along with the primordial seawater at this particular time, that is also unknown. What is also unknown is that if all this nonsense that I just blabbered right now would be true. But for that we need to play the 4.2 Archon quest. So anyways, that's it guys. I hope you enjoyed my analysis video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.